By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are sending our ziyarah to each and everyone. And we ask you to accept our ziyarah. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who allowed us to live and take advantage of these moments. We reiterate our ziyarah towards the Master, who is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We renew our status of disciple, our decency and spiritual formation in the realm of the Master, Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani Sharif. We ask him to accept our status of disciple, our decency, and our spiritual formation along with his blessings. Fatabarakallahu. The elders used to say, when the world is disorganized, the individual must listen to his soul. As the soul has a relationship with the Lord, from the Alamul Arwah conversation, that is the Alastu bi Rabbikum Qalu Bala. The soul tries every day to get closer to his Lord. And the era the elders were referring to is this period called Akhiru Zaman. And it is an obligation to listen to the soul. During a time in which following God is extremely rare, those who escape the situation are the ones making sure their connection with God is intact at all times. This approach takes us back to Zikrullahi. A Zikr practiced with diligence. When this happens, the individual following his Creator will not take into account obstacles or things delaying his journey. His Lord will be his only priority. This is why Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani Sharif said, if a person is at a point where he doesn't know where to go, then 3 types of sicknesses have caught up to him. And these 3 sicknesses cannot be cured by a doctor. The first sickness is a heart that is covered. And if a heart is covered, the owner will not know where to go. The second sickness is a soul that is covered. And when the soul is covered, the owner won't follow the Creator. The third sickness is when the heart and soul cannot associate their strength to worship the Creator. And whenever this happens, the owner is always in doubt. But Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani brought in the Tariqa Tijaniyya an antidote for all 3 sicknesses. He says what remedy a heart that is covered is to learn the Quran at the time of Fajr and practice wazifa after the prayer of Subh. This method will cure a covered heart. Learning the Quran at Fajr and respecting the wazifa of Subh. Sheikh Tijani says, the disciple learning the Quran at that time will awaken the eyes of his heart, while the wazifa will make sure that the eyes of the heart won't ever close again. Therefore, this is the remedy for a covered heart. As for a soul that is covered, and if it happens to an individual, the latter won't be able to follow God. The remedy for this sickness is to practice wazifa in the evening, and that is between Maghrib and Isha. At that time, after praying Maghrib, the action of sitting down performing Zikr and the connection we had with the effluence of light from Ghaib that penetrated your soul during the Maghrib prayer will remain inside the soul until we pray Isha. Sheikh says if you keep this up, your soul will be awake. If you practice it every single day, then your soul will never be covered. And an uncovered soul will always make you active in the worship of God. Mawlai Sheikh says the third sickness, which weakens the heart and the soul until they are unable to associate their strength to worship Allah, is cured by performing Hadaratul Jumu'ah. The importance of Hadaratul Jumu'ah goes beyond the mysteries we have revealed, and which are Alamul Haqiqatul Nur, Alamul Ilmi, and Alamul Wilayati. Hadaratul Jumu'ah is of capital importance because the disciple has to synchronize his body whenever he sits around the spreaded white cloth with the Hadara above, as there are two Hadaras. The Hadara assisted by the disciple in the Shahada world are with people with whom he shares the session. The Hadara above him are beings of Alamul Malakut from the world Ghaib. Now, for the disciple to master the practice of Hadaratul Jumu'ah taught by Mawlai Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, he must be able to synchronize his body with the spiritual circle that surrounds him. On the domain of the Shahada, a person sitting around the white cloth, the Shariatul Muhammadiyya teaches him the words of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and that is, Allah will send down angels whenever Muslims gather to glorify their Creator. The Prophet ﷺ did teach this. Therefore, people gathering performing Zikr, glorifying the Creator, are surrounded by invisible beings practicing Zikr alongside them. In the Tariqa Tijaniyya, when the disciple is performing the Hadaratul Jumu'ah with the Zikr of La ilaha illallah or with the Zikr of Allah, there is another Hadara also present above, repeating the same words as you. But each one of them will look at a certain individual in order to centralize the voices in one spiritually. Hence, Ghaib have their own condition, and they only accept to synchronize with the ones who feel the Zikr, and with the ones who have total concentration while having love for the Zikr. And those are three essential points regarding Zikr. This is why a person must love doing Zikr. And if you have that love, the concentration will become second nature. A person performing Zikr should also meditate on the words. And meditating is not just sitting, but it's about what God said in the Quran. فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. while truly knowing that this word is more powerful than any other word. Your mind will not wander, neither will your heart, as your intention will be to synchronize with the Hadara. As for the rest, the effect of Zikr towards one's soul is from the intention of only glorifying the name of God. And since the angels who are above you only mention words towards God, they will as well synchronize their voices with your Zikr. Thus you are assisting two Hadaras, the Hadaratul Jum'ah in the Shahada and the Jum'atul Hadara of Ghaib. Two completely different Hadaras. And you cannot just skip to the second Hadara without attending the first one. You know, the men of God do not have a problem reaching the second Hadara because their soul will attend it whenever they are in a sitting position. But it is the people of the Shahada who have this problem, as they are unaware of the second existing Hadara. And before Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani accepts one's decency in this tariqah, the individual must be in both. The first Hadara propels you to the second Hadara. Nevertheless, the men of God have the ability to be in the second Hadara, whereas the first Hadara is just a formality for them. Unfortunately, some disciples attended the first Hadara for years and never reached the second one. The reason is because they have no idea that a second Hadara exists. And from what we've taught surrounding the mysteries of Hadaratul Jum'ah, before a soul passes through one of the alam, it will first head to the second Hadara with the presence of the angels. Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani says if the disciple follows these decencies, the latter's heart and soul will be fully uncovered and will also combine in the worship of God. Do you know why many people find it hard to maintain righteousness? It's because they have a soul that loves God, but their nafs loves this world even more. If today the individual tries to follow the Creator, he will end up following the dunya because of its fruits. But if the disciple associates both his heart and soul, the latter will be able to live a righteous life and will put God above all. This is a quality the disciple must have in the worship of Allah to reach a certain status in the domain of Zikr. This is why Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani said, when Allah formulated on the Quran, "Wazkurullaha kasiran," even if he had not finished the sentence, the individual who practices Zikr should have the yaqeen that لَعَلَّكُمْ تُفْلِحُونَ will follow. Because Allah's world is different than ours. His world is vast. If Allah wants to fit in our world, it will only be according to His will. And His will is His manifestation through things. But Ar-Rahman al-Arshi istawa. Mawlaya Shaykh says if you want to know about this haqiqah, then you will have to interrogate the phenomenons that surround you. And the first phenomenons are the beings who come sit next to you when performing Zikr. From this remark, the disciple should learn from it. That is, Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani brought the Tariqa Tijaniyya in this world. But he also brought out two aspects. The most important one is the fact that he gathered the Muslims, because Wazifa assembles the Muslims. The disciple sitting next to his Muslim brother, sharing the same setting and shaking hands after the session of Wazifa. If the disciple uses the hand of his heart to greet his brother, there will be affection between one another. And the first quality of the Muslim is to have love for another. The affection will only be mutual when the disciple uses the hand of his heart and not just the visible hand during morning and evening wazifa, for example. The effort of gathering Muslims around the world is one of the reasons why the Tariqa Tijaniyya came. The second aspect is the Tarbiyatu Ruh, that is to say the spiritual formation of the soul. When the world is in total chaos, the soul given to you by God is your only issue out. But it will be up to the individual to help or neglect the soul. Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani says those who are safe from this situation are the people who accepted the conditions of the Tariqa Tijaniyya and have knowledge about their zikr, namely those who practice zikr assiduously. This organization is so hard to follow that Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani removes followers who don't respect the litanies. And those who complete their lazim today and skip it the next day, complete wazifa in the morning and won't do it the next day, or missing 3 sessions of Hadaratul Jum'ah, Sheikh will remove them because the Tijaniyya is a straight path and very hard to maintain. It is a path that only hard-working souls will have the merit, and any type of mistake will cost the disciple. This is due to the realities that this tariqah embodies. When all of the conditions are satisfied, the disciple is respecting his relationship between Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani and the zikr, then Allah will reveal to him hidden components. Phenomenon surrounding the disciple. When practicing wazifa, the angels are sitting. When practicing Hadaratul Jum'ah, they sit down as well. Same also goes when performing the lazim or any other zikr. With that being said, it will be up for the disciple to communicate with them. If the disciple succeeds in this task, Allah from now on will disclose to him information relevant to the world ghaib. The disciple who reaches this status will now be called a Wali. As I used to say, a Wali is a person like any other, but Allah gave him something special, just like Allah said, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ يُوحَى إِلَيَّ. To the Prophet ﷺ, He created the Prophet in the shape of a human body and gave him a prophecy. And before this prophecy, Allah gave the Prophet intellect, spiritual philosophy, and mystic, so he can prioritize the people of the word Shahada and the people of Ghaib. This decency is a must-have for every Wali. From all of this, you can learn that the Tariqa Tijaniyya helps a person who is far away from Wilaya and gets him close to it. Helps a person who is far away from Allah and gets him closer. It finds a person who is far away from Ghaib and brings him near the invisible. But to obtain these benefits and have it inside the soul, the disciple will need a lot of will and determination. Hence, to recapitulate what Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani said, a covered heart is cured by learning the Quran during Fajr, followed by a session of wazifa after the prayer of Subh. Therefore, if you have a heart that is still not awake, it's because you haven't followed the conditions. As for a covered soul, the fastest cure is to practice wazifa between Maghrib and Isha. So if your soul is so obscure that you don't follow God, and some people think if you stop praying 5 times a day, it means you don't follow the Creator, when this is not the case. A person can complete his prayers and still not follow God, because there is a decency to adopt when worshipping Allah. I taught it at the conference of Dakar. When Allah was referring to them, He said, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُسَلِّينَ. Yet those people were praying, but الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. Those people were praying when Allah said, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُسَلِّينَ. But Allah didn't agree with the way they were praying. الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. The conditions must be met first and foremost. Accordingly, a person can practice zikr and still not follow the Creator because of the way he performs his litanies. There is a condition to fulfill. That's why when praying, what solidifies your status of Muslim is your heart. You can pray 5 times a day at a mosque, But if whenever you step out, you talk behind people's back, how are you benefiting from praying? Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar. The one that prays and still sins every time. Ask him if his prayers are accepted. What Mawlana Shaykh Ahmad Tijani meant by following Allah is to pray but purify the heart and have a good relationship with Muslims. Fast during the month of Ramadan, but have a clean soul and a good relationship with Muslims. Give out zakat without bragging about it. Perform Hajj in Mecca while knowing deep inside your heart and soul you are doing it because of Allah. The same decencies will apply when you attend a session of wazifa. Same goes for the morning wazifa. You are doing it because of Allah. The evening wazifa and the Hadara Tijaniyya, it's also the same. As you signed the agreement when you were taking the Tijaniyya word. Once all conditions are reunited, the disciple will easily succeed. The path is already cleared for us by Mawlana Shaykh Ahmad Tijani. When you hear followers who Mawlana Shaykh Ahmad Tijani accepted the status of disciple are awliya, it is because he opened the doors of wilayah. And whoever wants to follow his path must accept the conditions and have a great determination, so that when you are sitting down practicing zikr, you will be aware of the reality. This reality, no one can label it as a bid'ah or take it away, because whoever wants to discredit Hadaratul Jum'ah, the angels that are present and in wazifa, ask him, why did the Prophet ﷺ say, Allah will send down angels toward Muslims who are together practicing zikr? The reality you are living must be visible to your soul, as well as your heart and your body. This is why the elders knew where a person studied by their communication. If you were taught by the wahyu, if you spoke, they would know you were resourcing from ilm laduni. If you were taught by the text, they would know that the knowledge came from the books. And if you were taught by nubuwah, when you spoke, they would know about the prophecy. But the most important thing is to have a guide that teaches you, as he will tell you the difference between a wahyu, a nubuwah, and the text. Unfortunately, if your knowledge comes from the books, if another person speaks from another source, you will automatically think that you are more knowledgeable than him, while in fact you are mistaken. This is why Sirin Sheikh said the following: there's no need to show off after lecturing somebody else's knowledge, because if you do so, it will look like the knowledge came from you. It's a citation and he's right. He said it a long time ago. He was a visionary. And the elders knew that a knowledge accompanied with light can stay in one's heart forever. But a knowledge without light, even if the holder learned thousands of books, it will fade. The holder won't be able to lecture what the people can hear, because his actions will contradict his words. You hear this a lot from people. He has the knowledge and everything, but look at his actions. His learning wasn't accompanied with light. The individual can learn the Quran from Baqarah to Nas, and the Quran is only light. But Allah won't allow the light to last forever in his heart. Yet he can learn from Baqarah to Nas. But Allah will remove the light from his heart, just like He removes the iman of a sinner. A person can sin many times, cause harm to his Muslim brothers, until Allah will one day remove his iman. From there, the latter will eventually do things he was scared to get involved. This happened to many people who were unfortunate to harm the man of God. Consequently, Allah removed their iman, even though they were fervent worshippers. The elders said in order to recognize people who had their iman removed by Allah, you have to look at their before and after. For example, he or she could have said the following before: I will never miss the prayer of Fajr. I will never stay a day without learning the Quran. I will never not pray or fast. I will never not give out zakat. I will never not go to Mecca to complete Hajj. Then if you wait 2 years after, you will notice that they have completely changed, as they now feel it is allowed for them to miss some obligations. And if you confront them regarding their choices, they will answer you that they have been promoted to a higher degree status. To those people, the men of God who reach the highest level of spiritual status are the most fervent in the worship of Allah. Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani, every day at Fez, used to only rest after 2 a.m. in the morning, if he even rested. Somebody went up to Sheikh Haji Malik Si and told him about the rumors about him never sleeping. Sheikh Haji Malik Si replied, "A person that doesn't sleep is not existent. However, I don't force it upon myself. I worship Allah until I fall asleep." And then for us, may Allah have mercy, because we go to sleep in a double bed with a cover and pillow ready. And of course, we wish to become a great Wali. Maybe with the blessing of Salat al-Fatih. Their time was different than ours. The intensity of their worship was unmatched. If someone from this generation were to try to have the same devotion, they would have been sick a couple days later, because the elders were able to pray Nawafil all night, go to the mosque to pray for Fajr, teach the Quran all day, and perform Nawafil at night all over. If an athlete had tried this routine for 2 days, I'm afraid they would have to go to the hospital and see Dr. Mao for medicine. Nonetheless, Allah is the absolute giver. And Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani said in this Akhiru Zaman, following the conditions of the Tariqa Tijaniyya will help your soul avoid making mistakes in this dark period. You know, a mistake can happen to you on a heart level, and a spiritual sheikh can still guide you to the right path. And that's the individual who was worshipping Allah, but ended up losing his will in the path of Allah. The spiritual sheikh who knows about light can orient you in the right direction. A mistake can happen to you in this life, and a spiritual sheikh can still guide you. And that is someone who God is his first priority, but is now making bad decisions. The spiritual sheikh can preach and lecture him until the latter goes back to his usual worship. But if a mistake on a soul level happens to you, then it's over. A soul making an error is a bad word directed to a man of God. At that moment, Ghaib will declare that your soul has been destroyed, and no one will make the commitment to fix your soul. They will watch the condition of this soul worsen until it passes away. No one from the circle of the awliya will engage in saving his soul. Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani said similar words regarding the Tariqa Tijaniyya, and that's whoever takes the word and then leaves it, the next person to engage in fixing the latter will be doomed along with him. The moment you leave the Tariqa Tijaniyya will be the instant that will cost your soul. And when the soul makes a mistake, no one will be willing to guide it. Therefore, we have to look at the way we organize our relationship with Allah by organizing our relationship with the Prophet, peace be upon him, through our relation with Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani. May Allah make us true disciples of Mawlaya Shaykh Ahmad Tijani. May He allow us to live with him in the apparent and hidden forever until Iliyin. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.